The soft hum of the research vessel Starseeker filled the quiet observation deck as Dale stood before the massive window, his 4 eyes fixed on the distant stars. His slim fingers tapped nervously on the data pad he held. After 15 years of studying ancient texts and legends, he had found something that made his heart race with both excitement and fear. The door behind him slid open with a gentle hiss. "Chief Researcher, the Council is ready for your report." His assistant called out. Dale's scaled skin shifted from its normal blue to a lighter shade, a sign of anxiety among his species. "Thank you," he said, turning away from the window. He had practiced this presentation countless times, but explaining to the Galactic Science Council that one of their core beliefs might be wrong was not going to be easy. The conference room was already full when Dale entered. 12 holographic figures sat around the table, each representing different species from across the galaxy. Some he recognized instantly: the crystalline form of the Quantum Archives director, the gaseous cloud that was the head of historical research, and the mechanical body of the technology assessment chief. "Chief Researcher Dale." The council head spoke, her bioluminescent patterns flickering in formal greeting. "You called this emergency meeting, please proceed." Dale connected his data pad to the room's projection system. Ancient text appeared in the air above the table, slowly rotating for all to see. "Honorable Council, for decades we've dismissed the human legends of the Worldbreaker as primitive propaganda. We believed it was simply their way of trying to seem more powerful than they were during their early space age." He paused, letting the familiar text sink in. However, he continued, bringing up new data. "I've discovered something in the deep archives of the predecessor races." The projection changed to show energy readings and mathematical formulas. "These readings match exactly with what our long-range sensors detected coming from the human solar system 3 days ago." Murmurs filled the room. The technology assessment chief's mechanical eyes whirred as they focused. "Impossible, the humans are a level 3 civilization at best, they barely have fusion power." Dale nodded. "That's what we've always believed, but look at this." He overlaid the ancient readings with the current ones. They aligned perfectly. "The legends speak of a power that could reshape reality itself. We thought it was fiction, but these energy signatures suggest otherwise." The Quantum Archives director's crystalline form sparkled with doubt. "Are you suggesting the humans have had this capability all along?" "Not exactly," Dale replied, bringing up more historical data. "The legends never specifically said it was a weapon. We assumed that because of how our translators interpreted the ancient texts, but I've been studying human languages, their patterns of communication, they often hide deeper meanings in their stories." The council head's patterns shifted to show concern. "Explain." "The humans write about the Worldbreaker in their earliest space records, but the way they describe it." Dale pulled up multiple text fragments. "They never say they created it, they talk about it like it's a natural part of who they are, something that emerges when needed." The historical research chief's gaseous form swirled faster, a sign of agitation. "This is absurd. We've monitored their development for centuries. They show no signs of such advancement." "Unless they're hiding it," Dale countered. "Think about their history. Every time they faced a superior force, they found unexpected ways to prevail. Their military history is full of examples where they succeeded against impossible odds." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The council head's patterns now showed deep concern. "What are you suggesting we do?" Dale took a deep breath. "I believe we need to send an investigation fleet. If the humans have somehow accessed this power, we need to know. The energy readings are growing stronger every day." "An investigation fleet?" The technology assessment chief's mechanical voice carried a note of warning. "That could be seen as an act of aggression. Better than ignoring it and risking the consequences," Dale argued. "The predecessor records are clear. The last time these energy readings appeared, an entire sector of space was altered at the quantum level. Whatever this power is, we can't pretend it doesn't exist anymore." The council members exchanged looks. After a moment, the council head's patterns shifted to show resolution. "We will send the fleet, but it must be handled diplomatically. We cannot risk provoking them if what you suggest is true." Dale felt relief wash over him, his scales returning to their normal blue, but as he gathered his data pad to leave, a new energy reading appeared on his screen. His heart nearly stopped. "Council," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "The readings, they've just doubled in intensity." The council head's patterns flashed with alarm. "How long until the fleet can reach Earth?" 3 standard days at maximum speed," the technology assessment chief answered. "Make it 2," the council head ordered. Whatever is happening in the human solar system, we need to contain it. Dismissed. As the holograms winked out one by one, Dale stayed behind staring at the readings on his screen. Something wasn't adding up. The humans he studied were clever and resourceful, yes, but this level of power was beyond anything they should be capable of unless... He quickly pulled up the original legends again, reading them with fresh eyes. The humans had never claimed the Worldbreaker was a weapon. In fact, they'd written about it with a mix of pride and fear, like they both celebrated and dreaded its existence. Dale's fingers flew over his data pad, cross-referencing historical events. Every major crisis in human history, every moment when they faced extinction, there were always stories of impossible victories, of solutions no one could have predicted. A chill ran through him as a new thought formed. What if the Worldbreaker wasn't a weapon at all? What if it was something else entirely, something about humanity itself? He needed to get this information to the fleet, but as he reached for the communication panel, all four of his eyes widened in shock. The energy readings had just tripled. Whatever was happening in the human solar system, they had less time than they thought, much less. Dale looked out the window at the distant stars, wondering if they were about to witness the return of something that had passed into legend, and for the first time in his life he hoped the legends were wrong. Massive energy spikes that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The scientists were baffled. The military was preparing for the worst, and the civilian population was still unaware that humanity's first contact with alien life was about to turn into a war. Sir James called out with 10 minutes left on the ultimatum. The readings, they're changing. Tom looked at the display and felt his blood run cold. The energy signatures were starting to form a pattern, and that pattern was growing. Something was coming. Get me the alien fleet, he ordered. Admiral Rex's hologram appeared again. Have you come to your senses, Commander? Admiral, look at the energy pattern. It's not centered on Earth, it's moving, forming something. This isn't a weapon, it's more like something's arriving. The alien's scales shifted to a paler shade. Impossible, the calculations clearly showed. Sir James interrupted. Object detected. Massive object just appeared at the edge of the solar system. The main screen showed it a shape so large it defied comprehension. It was bigger than Earth, bigger than Jupiter, and it was moving toward them. Admiral Rex's hologram showed him talking to someone off-screen, his movements sharp with alarm. When he turned back, his voice had lost its commanding tone. Commander, he said, we may have made a terrible mistake. The energy readings, they weren't from a weapon at all, they were from that. What is it? Tom asked, watching as the massive object slowly moved closer, its surface seeming to shift and change like living tissue. Something from our oldest records, Rex replied, something that all space-faring races fear. We thought the stories were myths, but he paused, his scales now almost white. Commander, I suggest we postpone our disagreement. If that is what I think it is, we're all in danger. Tom looked at the tactical display, then at his crew, then back at the alien. Admiral agreed. Whatever that thing is, it's a threat to all of us. I suggest we start talking about how to face it together. As if in response to his words, the massive object suddenly accelerated, heading straight for the gathered ships of both species. The legend they had feared wasn't a human weapon after all, it was something far worse, and now humanity's first contact with alien life would have to become humanity's first alliance if any of them were going to survive. What came next? The massive creature moved through space with impossible grace for its size. On the main screen of Earth's defense station, it looked like a living planet, its surface rippling with patterns that hurt the eyes to watch. Both human and alien crews stared in horror as it drew closer, now passing Jupiter's orbit. What exactly are we dealing with, Admiral? Tom asked, looking at Rex's hologram. The alien commander scales had not returned to their normal color. The ancient texts call it the Devourer. Rex replied, it's appeared only 3 times in recorded history. Each time it consumed everything in its path, planets, stars, entire solar systems. None of the civilizations it encountered survived. James pulled up new sensor readings. Sir, it's accelerating again. At current speed it will reach Mars in 6 hours. Tom turned to the alien. Admiral Rex, I know we got off on the wrong foot, but right now your fleet and our defense stations are the only things standing between that creature and Earth. We need to work together. The alien commander was silent for a moment, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Agreed, but Commander, you should know our weapons may not be enough. The records suggest the Devourer adapts to whatever attacks it faces. Sir, one of the human officers called out. Chief Researcher Dale is requesting to join the conference. He says it's urgent. The blue-scaled alien scientist appeared as a second hologram holding a data pad. Commander, Admiral, I finished analyzing the ancient records. The Devourer isn't just a creature, it's a living weapon, created by a long-dead race. It was designed to evolve past any defense it encounters. How did the Ancient civilizations fight it, Tom asked. They didn't, Dale replied. They tried to run to hide, some attempted to destroy entire sectors of space to stop it. Nothing worked. The command center fell silent on the main screen. The creature's massive form continued its approach, now clearly visible even without magnification. There has to be a way, Tom said, looking at his crew. Everything has a weakness, we just need to find it. Rex's scales shifted slightly, showing surprise. Commander, did you not hear this? Entity has destroyed civilizations far more advanced than either of ours. Yes, but they fought alone, Tom replied. He turned to Dale. Chief Researcher, you said it adapts to whatever attacks it faces. What if we hit it with everything at once? Different types of weapons, different technologies. Dale's eyes widened. That could work. The Devourer adapts quickly, but it can only adapt to one type of attack at a time. If we could coordinate multiple different attacks, it would have to choose which adaptation to make. Rex finished his scales, showing interest. But Commander, even with our combined forces, we don't have enough different weapon types to overwhelm its adaptation ability. Tom smiled. Actually, we might. James, show them what we've been hiding. James pressed several buttons, and new schematics appeared on the screen. The alien holograms stared in surprise. Impossible, Rex said. These weapon designs, they're completely different from anything we've seen. How did you develop these without us detecting them? We didn't develop them to hide them, Tom explained. We developed them because we think differently. Your civilizations focused on energy weapons and quantum distortion. We looked at what we had: kinetic weapons, chemical reactions, even biological agents. We made them work in space because we had to. We didn't have your advanced technology, so we got creative. Dale was studying the schematics with all four eyes. This could work. The Devourer has never encountered such primitive yet innovative weapons. Combined with our advanced technology, we hit it with everything, Tom said. Energy weapons, kinetic strikes, biological agents, quantum disruption, everything we have all at once from all sides. It won't be able to adapt to everything simultaneously. Rex's scales had finally returned to their normal color. It's bold, possibly suicidal, but he looked at the approaching monster. We don't have many options left. 4 hours until it reaches Mars, James reported. Tom straightened. Admiral, if we're going to do this, we need to start coordinating now. Our weapons are different, our tactics are different, even our communication systems are different. We need to figure out how to work together fast. Agreed, Rex said. I'm sending coordination codes now. We'll need to position our ships carefully. The timing must be perfect. As the command center burst into activity, Dale spoke up again. Commander, Admiral, there's something else in the ancient records. A warning: the Devourer, it's intelligent. It doesn't just adapt physically, it learns. It thinks. Whatever plan we make, we need a backup, and a backup for the backup. Tom nodded. Noted. James, get me Earth Command. We need every weapons platform, every ship, every station ready. He turned back to the alien. Admiral Rex, I promise you this: whether we win or lose, the Devourer is about to face something it's never seen before. Humans and aliens working together, combining the best of both our species. The massive creature filled the main screen now, its surface patterns becoming clearer. They looked almost like faces screaming in eternal agony, perhaps the remnants of civilizations it had consumed. But as both human and alien crews prepared for battle, there was no more fear in the command center, only determination. The legend they had feared was a human weapon, but perhaps, Tom thought, looking at his crew working alongside alien tactical officers through holographic interfaces, they were about to create a new legend, one about the day humanity and its former enemies stood together against a horror from the ancient past. Those patterns are like a giant neural network. 20 minutes to contact, James reported. Time to get to our ships, Jack said. Commander, Tom, you'll coordinate from here. Kate, you're with me on the flagship. Admiral Rex, he paused, looking at the alien commander. It's been an honor preparing for battle with you. Let's hope we live to do it again. The next 15 minutes were a blur of activity. Ships moved into final position, weapons were charged, and crews made their peace with whatever gods they believed in. The door had slowed its approach, seeming to study the assembled fleet. An energy spike, James called out. It's scanning us. All ships hold position, Tom ordered. Wait for it to commit. The creature's surface pattern suddenly shifted, forming what looked like thousands of mouths. From each one a beam of pure darkness shot out, heading for different ships in the fleet. Now, Tom shouted. The space around Mars erupted in chaos. Confederation ships fired brilliant beams of energy that would have cut planets in half. Earth's platforms launched salvos of kinetic weapons. Tungsten rods accelerated to near light speed. Defense stations released clouds of engineered bacteria designed to eat through any known material. Alien support ships activated quantum disruptors that worked the very fabric of space. The door's surface rippled as it tried to adapt, but There were too many different attacks where it hardened against energy weapons, kinetic strikes tore through it where it created quantum shields, the biological weapons slipped through where it tried to destroy the bacteria, energy beams found their markets working. James shouted, "We're causing damage," but then the creature did something unexpected. Instead of trying to adapt, it split into smaller pieces. Each one the size of a small moon. The pieces began moving independently, each adapting to a different type of attack. "All ships fall back," Tom ordered. "It's trying to divide our fire." No, Kate's voice came over the comm. "This is what we wanted, James. Activate the signal from Earth's defense stations." A new type of wave emerged, not a weapon but a complex pattern of energy pulses, the same pattern that they had observed on the Devourer's surface but modified. "Change." "What are you doing?" Rex demanded. "Its neural network is adaptive," Kate explained, "so we're giving it too much to process the pattern we're sending. It's a paradox, a mathematical problem that has no solution. The more it tries to solve it, the more complex it becomes." The pieces of the door stopped moving, their surfaces began swirling faster and faster as they tried to process the signal. Some started to recombine, others began to break apart further. "Keep up the attack," Jack ordered. "All weapons concentrated fire on any piece that looks like it's figuring out the pattern." The battle raged for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. The Dever pieces spun and twisted, caught between trying to solve the unsolvable pattern and defending against the physical attacks, and then something remarkable happened. The pieces that had split off began to move erratically. Their surface patterns became chaotic, uncoordinated. Some started attacking each other. "It's working," Kate's voice was triumphant. "The neural network is overloading. Each piece is trying to solve the pattern differently." "All ships," Tom ordered, "focus fire on the largest remaining piece. Everything you have." The combined fleet turned its full fury on the main body of the Devourer. Energy weapons, kinetic strikes, biological agents, and quantum disruption all hit at once, unable to adapt, unable to process the paradox being fed into its neural network. The creature's surface began to break apart, but victory wasn't certain yet. As its body disintegrated, the door seemed to gather itself for one final attack. Its surface stabilized. For a moment, all the patterns aligning. "Brace for impact," Tom shouted. "All ships." Evasive action. The creature released a wave of energy unlike anything they had ever seen. Where it touched ships, reality itself seemed to bend, but in committing to this final attack, it had stopped trying to solve the paradox. Its neural network, already strained to breaking point, finally collapsed. The Devourer, the terror of ancient civilizations, began to tear itself apart. The final battle against the Devourer left everyone watching in awe as the creature tore itself apart. Cascading waves of energy rippled out in all directions. The combined fleet scrambled to move away from the blast zone, but not all ships made it in time. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 7, a crew member shouted on the human flagship. Admiral Jack held onto his command chair as the ship shuddered. "Get damage control teams down there," he ordered. "Kate, what's happening to that thing?" Kate's eyes were fixed on her display, tracking the death throes of the ancient horror. "It's collapsing in on itself. The paradox signal disrupted its neural network, and now the separate pieces are fighting each other, unable to reintegrate properly." On the defense station, Commander Tom watched as pieces of the door turned on each other, consuming one another in a desperate attempt to regain stability. "Admiral Rex, your ships in Sector 4 need to pull back further. The energy readings are off the charts." The alien admiral's hologram flickered as his own ship rocked from the shock waves. "Confirmed. All Confederation vessels increase distance to minimum safe range." The creature's death wasn't quick or clean. For nearly an hour they watched as it devoured itself, shrinking smaller and smaller until it was merely the size of Earth's moon. But even as it diminished, its power remained terrifying. Sir James called out from his station on the defense platform, "I'm detecting a buildup of energy at the creature's core. If those readings are accurate..." His voice trailed off. "Spit it out," Tom said. "If it continues, the resulting explosion could take out half the solar system." The command center fell silent. They had defeated the Devourer, but at what cost? If it destroyed their solar system in its death, their victory would be meaningless. "There has to be a way to contain it." Kate's voice came over the comm system. "The energy is building because the creature's outer layers are pressing in on its core. If we could relieve that pressure..." "No, Chief Researcher," Dale interrupted, his 4 eyes wide with understanding. "If we disrupt the collapse now, it might stabilize and regenerate. We need to control the blast, not prevent it." "And how exactly do we control an explosion that big?" Jack asked, a new voice joining the conversation. "We create a path of least resistance." Tom looked up to see a human woman he didn't recognize on screen. "Who is this Dr. Lee, head of Earth's quantum physics division?" she replied. "We've been monitoring the situation. The Devor's core is building pressure because it has nowhere to go, but space isn't uniform. It has weaknesses, natural folds where dimensions meet. You're talking about creating a controlled rupture," Dale said, his scales shifting with excitement. "Direct the explosion away from the solar system through a weak point in space-time." "Exactly," Dooley nodded, "but we'll need precise calculations and perfect timing." Admiral Rex's scales changed color as he considered this. "This is beyond dangerous. If we miscalculate, we could tear up her hole in reality. And if we do nothing, half our solar system dies," Tom countered. "I say we try it now." "I see. It's not unpredictability that makes you dangerous, but ingenuity that makes you invaluable allies," Rex said. "So what happens next?" Tom asked. "Now," Rex replied, "we build something new together." As humans and aliens gazed out at the stars, they understood that the legend had changed. The Worldbreaker was never a weapon of destruction. It was humanity's ability to shatter conventional thinking when faced with the impossible, and now that very ability had saved not just Earth but the representatives of a galactic civilization that had once feared them. A new legend was beginning, one that promised a future built on unity, survival, and the strength of minds working together.